Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in today. Did you know there's a few different ways you can support us? We have a really cool Patreon page that has some great perks for contributing. Also, we have 4 sweet shirt designs currently up on our Store Envy page. Both links will be in the description below. And no matter how you choose to support us, we are so grateful to have you on board. Enjoy the show.
Good day, Hulkamaniacs.
Hey. That's mine.
Oh, that's your line,
Can you just...
What are you doing?
Can you just...
Oh.
So here's... You crossed the line, man, and just let me take care of the intro.
I am so excited.
You're just gonna hijack the pod, dude?
I'm sorry. Zach, take it away.
No, Kyle!
Take it away,
I
Zach.
expect more from you, Kyle!
Sorry.
What is up, Hulkamaniacs? Thank you for tuning in to another brand new episode of Big Boys and Body Slams. I apologize for Kyle's incompetence, and it will not happen again.
It won't.
I am sure of it. My name is Zach. Over here we got Luke.
Hello, babies. And let me tell you, we need you to buy more t-shirts. That was bad. Sorry.
Wonderful.
that
No, I
was
love
awesome.
that. Thank you, Luke. And Kyle.
The hijacker right here. That's me.
The hijacker.
I was playing towards a camera, which we don't actually have the cameras today.
Yeah, we're not doing cameras today, by the way.
So I was
It's a
playing to it 'cause
lazy Sunday.
I'm so used to
If
it.
you guys really want the cameras, though, let us know, and we will bring the cameras back. We're just trying something different for the YouTube version this week.
Is that like breaking the fourth wall for me to say what day we recorded this?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, it's lazy Sunday, and I kind of wish we had a camera, but with lazy Sundays comes a lazy Zach, because we are scrubbing. We are scrubbing hard.
It's true.
Yeah, it was a long night.
Kyle's
for
got a
most of us,
Hulkamania
so-
Christmas sweater on in October 21st.
We could take a picture of it and post it to the page.
We will.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
So no shirts this week.
No shirts this week?
But hey, we'll get back on there.
We'll get back
We
on
got
there.
some surprises in store for you guys. We got some
we
backyard
do.
wrestling tapes we need to get a hold of and get burnt onto.
Yeah,
the,
we're planning on doing a live reaction to Kyle's cousin's backyard wrestling tapes.
from like the late '90s.
It should be great.
It's
It should be
awesome.
I'm also trying to work on a sweet intro. I will keep everyone posted. but
There's going to be a special guest maybe
perhaps
Next week?
on
on the intro.
that-
But
Oh.
hold on, I'm not gonna. It's not a for sure deal, so I'm working on it.
Well, just
Sweet.
keep your ears and eyes peeled, family and friends. Again, we are Big Boys and Body Slams. You can find us on a multitude of different platforms. We will still be on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Luke?
Oh no, I'm just.
Oh,
go ahead
we'll be on
and listen.
YouTube. We'll be on SoundCloud. We'll be on iTunes. And we'll be on Google Play. So there's...
and we're still not on Spotify.
No, man, they're a tough nut to crack.
You know what? If Spotify's not down with us, we've got 2 words for them.
Why not?
That's a good one, yeah.
Thanks.
I was just gonna say, please do.
So
Suck it,
That's a good one, too.
So-
Kyle, what do we have today?
we have a request show requested by
Buddy Parr,
Buddy Parr, friend of the podcast, requested
friend
this
of the
show.
podcast.
Halloween Havoc 1996,
Yep.
which is main evented by the legendary, the immortal, the greatest of all time,
Lodi Hogan.
Hollywood Hulk Hogan,
Hogan.
versus the Macho Man Randy Savage.
That's what we're looking at for a main event tonight. Seems pretty solid to me. The match is just really something. And there's some more matches on the
you
card
know,
as well.
It's something.
I think before we get into this show was hilarious.
This show like just reeked of 90s corn and like cheese all over it. It was so silly. I had a blast watching the show, even if, well, we'll leave that rating part for the end, but I'll just suffice to say this was a fun show to watch on a Sunday afternoon.
You know, if you're not trying to watch anything serious or even bad or good, maybe like this might be the show for you. This show was fun.
This was fun. Should we get right into it?
This is the WCW cheese without
Yeah.
the Russo stink.
Yeah, this is pre-Russo,
That Russo-
just
Russo
corny
stank.
mid-90s.
I loved it.
WCW.
Let's get going though.
All right. So we open up with a video package that just sets the tone for this pay-per-view. It's got like this spooky green filter in front of it.
It looks
that's
like it was
playing.
made on Windows Paint or whatever that
It
program
really
was.
does. It's super corny.
Microsoft Paint.
Sorry, Luke.
Yeah, Microsoft
I forgive
Paint.
you.
Come on, Luke.
Luke. That's all right.
Yeah.
I suck.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, it's just basically got clips from the rivalries leading into
Bro,
the
you can
pay-per-view.
hardly tell because it's like got a blur filter.
The filter's really bad. And then we get right into the sponsor of the show, which is Slim Jim. This isn't, by the way, we mislabeled the show at the beginning. This isn't Halloween Havoc 1996. This is Slim Jim's Halloween Havoc.
Nobody else's.
This is sponsored by Slim Jim himself.
And Slim Jim is everywhere.
It's on the mat. It's at ringside. It's on the post. There's like a giant package of Slim Jim like off like by the entrance
This better
ramp.
have been like a mega deal because they sold the hell out.
And
They really did.
So you guys know how you guys go to baseball games and you get bobbleheads or items. I swear to God that this arena, the WCW, gave out Slim Jims to everybody in the crowd.
Oh yeah.
Everyone had Slim
Complimentary.
Jims for all.
They were getting thrown in the ring at wrestlers and stuff. It was great.
Also,
We
like
had-
to point out,
yeah,
we
go
had a
ahead.
sweet broadcast trio of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Except for he was called Dustin, wasn't he?
Yeah, they call him Dustin in the nameplate.
Strange. Tony Schiavone and then Bobby the Brain Heenan.
But also, don't forget that in the first match that we're going to get to right now, Mike Tenay also.
Was
I'm
doing
pretty
some
sure
commentary.
he's like in gorilla position. He's somewhere backstage, and every once in a while you'll just hear, "That's right, Tony." And he's like, you could tell they had a big problem with equalizing the board tonight.
Oh yeah, because all three announcers levels were just all over
The
place.
charts.
Some
yeah.
of them would be really loud.
Dusty
and
would
some
be
of
super
them-
quiet, and then all of a sudden, Brain would just like scream and clip, and it was a great time.
That was awesome.
Yes, it was. Should we get into the first match of the day?
And real quick, the entrance ramp.
Oh
looks
yeah,
like,
please.
Looks
The
like
entrance ramp is great.
it looks like a middle school Halloween social over there because it's got like
It's
fake
amazing.
tombstones. It says like Elvis is alive.
Lots of painted styrofoam.
Don't forget the best tombstone there was Crockett. Which remember,
loved the Crockett
remember
tombstone.
WCW was a Crockett promotion early in its days. Was yes, and now it's like a Bischoff.
and
Promotion.
now they're a Slim Jim promotion.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, the set was. I loved the set, guys.
set was
I thought it was
brilliant.
great. And then after that, we do get to our first match of the evening, wasting no time. We wasted a little bit of time. They had some commentary banter. But after that, we got to our first match, which is for the Cruiserweight Championship. The current title holder, Rey Mysterio Jr.,
15 years old.
Yeah, he looks.
who looks
he
like a baby here.
He's
is-
probably no more than 170 pounds. If
What?
that.
No,
If-
no more
no,
than
dude.
140, bro.
He's like 145 soaking wet, I
if
feel like.
that.
So we do
Sorry.
get that Ray versus Technical Master, Man of 1,000 Holds, Dean Malenko. This is for the Cruiserweight title. They started off with a very long match, and we'll get into it here. So Malenko attacks Ray to start, and then there's a Texas Cloverleaf attempt by Dean, countered by Ray, and then Ray goes for a crossbody and gets caught, and then he sends Dean into the corner. The drop toe hold by Ray. It did start off very quickly here. It does slow
was
down in the middle, but
awesome.
the beginning of this match was
It was
really quick.
awesome.
Dean goes for a crucifix. It gets counted into a head scissors takedown. Like they called it an arm drag, but it was more of a head scissors.
Yeah,
I feel like
Tony screwed
for
that one
sure.
up.
Yeah, it was great no matter what they call it. And then Dean goes outside, and then Ray kind of fakes a 619 to kind of keep Dean on his toes outside.
Booyaka, booyaka.
And then Dean like grabs another Rey Mysterio mask and like looks at it longingly, just long enough for Ray to hit a nice elbow and sends Dean outside. And then he hits a top rope dive to Dean outside, and then he comes inside the ring and he switches masks.
Like he just takes his mask back.
So what I kind of picked up from the commentary on this one was that on Nitro or something, Dean took Ray's mask off and then took it with him.
Which was probably the first of 15 times when Ray had his
Sure.
mask taken
Well,
off.
it's funny.
So-
They kept on commentary. They kept putting over how Ray
In-
without
in
his
Lucha,
mask,
yeah.
Ray without his mask is nothing. And if Ray ever gets demasked, his career is over essentially. And then like
And
two,
then WCW
And then Vince
does
Russo
it.
two or
happened.
3 years later, his mask is gone.
And he wears devil horns.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh boy.
So the match continues. There's a nice sidewalk. Ray goes for head scissors. It gets countered into a sidewalk slam by Dean, and then Ray gets suplexed into the ropes, like right under the ropes. And there's a single leg crab, and then there's like a half surfboard abdominal stretch that Dean puts on Ray on the ground. Basically, he just kind of gets one arm and one leg and puts his knee against Ray's back and stretches him.
Stretches him.
Pretty unique offense there by Dean. This is when the match does slow down a little bit.
It's
but
the man of 1,000 holds.
the man of 1,000 holds gets a good amount of them in. We get a delayed vertical suplex from Dean to Ray. Ray gets a roll up for a near fall. Dean gets a chin lock in, and then he goes into a camel clutch from there. And then he hits a big tilt-a-whirl backbreaker onto Ray for a near fall. Dean was taking a lot of the early offense in this match, particularly this sequence here. It's a lot of Dean doing Dean things, I suppose you would say. A lot of submission holds, a lot of technical offense. And then both men are outside. There's a sleeper to Ray. They go for the 1, 2, 3 with his arms. He gets out at 2, then it gets reapplied. He hangs on again. There's a running kitchen sink to Ray, so basically like a running kind of knee strike.
That was crazy.
Knee to the gut.
That was
Ray sold it like crazy.
that was
He
a
did a bunch
great
of flips
spot.
in the air there. It was really great. Just a simple spot, but just Ray selling, I think, just really escalated it to something memorable.
the intangibles.
Yes, exactly.
and then both men crash to the floor because they're both on the top, and they kind of knock each other out. And then they get back inside, and Ray hits a springboard rolling West Coast pop. So usually he does the West Coast pop, and he just crotches you, basically, puts his crotch in your face. But this time he did like a rolling senton version of that.
Front flip. Yeah.
It was really cool. I haven't seen him do that very many times.
He was busting out some stuff in this match that really impressed me.
Man, Ray has had such a long career, and the fact that he's freshly signed again with WWE and he's back at it is just...
with busted knees.
Man, just a testament to just how good he is. And it's so nice to see him back in a WWE ring.
I like seeing him back. I think he's going to be good for the product.
No, I agree. I think he's a household name. Everyone knows who he is. He can still put on a serviceable match. He's still...
Oh, no, he's good.
More than serviceable.
Yeah, he can still put on a good match.
And he can still put over talent.
Yeah, for sure. So that was really cool. And then Ray goes for a reverse Rana onto Dean, and Dean Malenko just throws him off of his back. Not having it. Ray almost landed on his head there. I'm sure that Jim Cornette was cussing at the TV watching that one.
What would he say?
What would Cornette say if he were here and he saw that?
Is there Jim?
Jim, is that you? Mr. Cornette?
This is not something out of 1937. Motherfucker.
Hey, Jim. What'd you think of that reverse Rana spot? You didn't like it, huh?
No. I like drop toe holds and abdominal stretches.
All right. Thanks
Cheeseburger.
Thanks for your opinion, Jim.
I don't really like Cheeseburger. He's a comedy wrestler.
Okay, thank you. Jim Cornette, everybody. Another Jim Cornette appearance. Oh, okay. Thank you, Jim.
I always love having him on the show.
So then Ray, they get a bunch of roll-up attempts back and forth, and then Ray pulls Malenko down and then hits a leapfrog bridging pin. So they were hitting like reverse rear waist locks, and then Ray like reached underneath of his body and grabbed Dean's hands and like pulled him over, and then hit a leapfrog for a bridging pin combo. That was really cool. And then
he like flipped him inside out.
Yeah, and then what did Heenan say here? He was like, "That was 8,000 moves right there," or something.
I think it was 10,000.
10,000.
Who's counting?
It was a lot of moves, and that gets a near fall for Ray. And then there's another delayed vertical for a near fall from Dean after he just destroys Ray with a lariat, and then gets the vertical for a near fall. Dean gets sent outside, springboard corkscrew to Dean outside, and then a reverse Rana back in the ring for a near fall. Another West Coast pop, which gets countered into a sit-out powerbomb for a near fall. That was awesome. Basically just caught him on the West Coast pop attempt and just slammed him down for a sit-out powerbomb.
I think it was pretty close to this point where we spent the remainder of the match just going, "Oh, whoa, oh my God!"
The end of this match was crazy. And then there's a Rana countered by Ray again, and then the top rope. Both men are up. What happened here? And then Ray goes up to the top. Dean goes up to the top after him, and then hits a middle top. I think it was a top rope gut wrench suplex, and that is the end of the match. And Dean Malenko wins and is the new cruiserweight champion. That finishing sequence was awesome.
I gotta say one thing is Dean had the skill to be a world champion, but he just does not have a lot of personality.
No, yeah, that's true. This match, I thought, was really solid. It was a good display of what both men could do at this time. Maybe it was a few minutes too long, but I mean, Dean had a lot of great reversals and had really good chemistry with Ray, I thought, throughout, and really showed off what he could do, not just as a cruiserweight, but just, I mean, he was kind of acting above his weight limit here, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't feel like we're putting over this match enough. Like, this is an opener. This is a 96 cruiserweight division. So it's still pretty experimental at this point, and these guys worked their butts off. I'm so surprised that WCW gave them this much time.
I'm glad they did.
Yes, I'm totally glad they did. And yeah, Dean was able to play the big guy and get a lot of big, high power moves on Ray, and then Ray was able to get his usual agility, plancha stuff going on. And it was from the beginning was amazing. And then, of course, it kind of died down and had to, lay out some of the groundwork. And then the end, man, we were just on the edge of our seats for the rest of that match, and it was fantastic. I don't know, I loved it.
Yeah. Overall, I give the match 4 stars. I think it was a classic. Again, the middle, it could have been 3-4 minutes shorter. I think would have really helped tighten things up a little bit. But even what we did get, the length it was, I was very entertained throughout.
I gave it 4 stars as well. I thought the beginning was great. I thought the middle kind of got boring, like you guys were saying. And then the ending picked up and was just fantastic. It was a hot opener. The crowd was hot for it. Everybody was good. Good stuff.
I also gave it 4 stars, and I want to give Eric Bischoff some credit. I know that obviously the NWO and all that's what he's most known for, and saving WCW, turning a profit, blah, blah, blah. But him stealing a page out of the Luchadors book and bringing the cruiserweights in was so ahead of its time with American wrestling. It was just incredible. And so it was something that they really had a huge leg up over WWF with.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It was the cruiserweights in WCW, especially around this time, were just show stealers.
And I was saying to you guys while we were watching this is, granted, nowadays there's so much athleticism and NXT, WWE, and all that, that it seems like every other pay-per-view has an amazing opener of guys who are just flying all around. But as far as this goes, like 96, you are not going to find a more classic opener than something like this.
This match kind of fits in the Bound for Glory 2018 that we were watching the other day, Zach.
Yeah, no, the style, it works perfectly well with today's kind of more quick paced. It would have felt right at home on a
very ahead of its
2018
time.
pay-per-view.
Yeah, for sure.
After that, we get a backstage interview with Jeff Jarrett
And Lee Marshall.
and Lee Marshall, who is the interviewer. And
If you want to ask us who Lee Marshall is,
Don't.
I had to Google this because all I had written down was Mr. Mustache Guy.
he was just a generic mustache 90s guy. And Jeff Jarrett was terrible here. He was doing this like awkward giggle like after every sentence.
Well, so I've heard, listening to the Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard podcast, he always does that, the JEFF, JARRETT, double J, ha, ha, ha. Like, and he always does that. And I was like, I haven't heard him do that much.
He was doing it so
oh
much.
my God. Like he would ask him, what was his name? The
Lee
interviewer?
Marshall.
Yeah. Lee would ask him a question and he'd just immediately be like, ha, ha. Well, the Giant is going to go down tonight. Ha, ha, ha.
That really was not a bad Jeff Jarrett impersonation.
No, it was not at all.
Yeah,
And
I kinda liked it.
I should have started with that.
The weird thing was too, like he just like came off as like kind of nervous. He just
He
seemed
totally
like,
was. He was ripped though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he looked shredded
he looked
here.
great.
And then Ric Flair shows up about halfway through the promo. Yeah, Luke,
You want to know what this promo made me do?
what did it make you do?
Ha!
Oh, thank you.
All right, go
Yep.
ahead.
Ric Flair shows up about halfway through. He's out of control. He's just yelling and screaming and wooing.
It's a typical great Ric Flair promo because he is just out of control. There's probably no script.
He's
just
vintage Flair.
He's
here.
just screaming whatever he wants to scream.
And basically said, yeah, they're gonna beat the Giant tonight, and Giant's going down.
He's wooing his ass off.
Yes,
And
then,
Jeff Jarrett looks freaking jacked.
Yeah, he does. He looks great here. And then up next, we go to our next match, which is a battle for the ring, which, as far as I can tell, is just a normal match.
What for a ring?
Oh, you actually won
Yeah,
a ring.
yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
it
you
was.
didn't see that part, did you?
He said I'm the Lord of the Ring at the end, but I didn't know what that was about.
J.R.R. Tolkien.
Also, we got
Just kidding. I think he was dead.
It's Diamond Dallas Page versus Eddie Guerrero, but Diamond Dallas Page, he had a giant frickin' cigar.
He was
that-
stoking it
He
up,
was
man.
stoking
and a
it
beer
up.
belly.
It was the cigar was basically his manager in this match.
It really was.
It was huge.
This was still pretty somewhat early on into his wrestling career, wasn't it? At this point.
Yeah.
And again, like we said, he is taking on the late and great Eddie Guerrero. We come to the match. DDP's working heel, which is just weird to see.
We're just gonna skim right over the fact that young ass Eddie Guerrero has a sick mullet and like a
This is like mustache
just
mullet
maxi
singlet.
mustache. Yeah.
Eddie
and a
Guerrero.
singlet. Yeah.
He's looking great.
Just so you guys know, I just looked it up. 1989 was Diamond Dallas Page's first year as an active wrestler.
Oh, really? So
I'm sorry we disrespected
He
you.
was a good amount of years into his run then. But still, it's just weird to see him working heel because, of course, later in WCW
Once we
history,
get done with this match, I'm gonna gush about Diamond Dallas.
that's
Page.
good.
Oh yes, you should.
Of course, he would go on to kind of be the big baby face.
Not just in
name.
professional wrestling, but as a person, he's the big baby face
Yeah.
because he saves lives.
Hey,
Definitely.
hold on. Let us have some material to gush. Go ahead.
Let's go through the match then real quick. So DDP comes out. First thing, spits on Eddie Guerrero to start the match. Eddie gets sent into the rail, and then they get sent back inside. Nick Patrick, at this point, I notice, is wearing this comedic neck brace and will be wearing it throughout the show. And,
Also,
like,
Kenny Powers. He's Kenny Powers.
he looks so much like Danny McBride.
He does, and also he kind of looks like Isaac Yankem too a little bit, but it's definitely Danny McBride.
For sure. It's just the mullet, the mustache combo, I think.
The whole time I'm just thinking like Kenny Powers and
For sure.
That's Isaac Yankem DDS to you.
Okay, sorry, Dad.
Yeah. Thanks.
So Nick Patrick is just wincing. He's overselling this like phantom. I don't know. I'm sure there was an angle leading into it, but it was just funny to just see him show up in a neck brace on this show.
And every time he counted a pin, he had to use his other arm to prop him
So
up.
it looked like he was like posing for a painting or something.
It
So he
was
laying there.
hilarious.
It was awesome.
And this is just where the hilarity
And
starts.
he's the NWO ref, right? Did we mention that?
Yeah, he's a little crooked at this point. I don't know if it's full on yet, but
Did you watch this show?
V crooked.
yeah.
V crooked.
Am I being a Nick Patrick sympathizer right now?
No,
Yes.
You better not be.
Ooh,
He's
sorry about
basically
that.
the Hitler of referees.
He's basically
True.
anti-Slick Johnson. He's everything we
Dude,
don't
we could
stand
have used
for.
Slick on the show.
Yeah.
God, yes. I love you, Slick.
Should we get into the match?
Yes.
Friend of the podcast.
All right. So Eddie gets sent back inside after getting sent into the rail. Does an Eddie headlock onto DDP for a while, then a nice drop kick, and then DDP gets caught in the ropes and then gets kicked outside of the ring. He got caught horizontally in the ropes, and kind of like Zelina Vega does now, or like Andrade almost does now. And then Eddie just kicks him out of the ring. A lot of them getting sent outside of the ring in this match. And then Eddie dives outside and just lands on his feet. Like, that's just the way he got out of the ring. He plunged over the top rope and just landed on his feet.
Well, it looked like he was trying to go for Paige, and then Paige moved.
Yeah.
And Paige was kind of thinking he was sneaky. Eddie jumped over
and just
got him.
landed on his feet. And then he sends DDP into the guardrail, and then
He slapped him after that.
Yeah,
'cause
slapped
Diamond
him.
Dallas Page turned around and he smacked the shit out of him.
Yes, and then they get sent back into the ring. DDP gets chopped really hard in the corner. A lot of good chops on the show. Eddie gets slammed into the ropes and then sent into the steps outside. Eddie gets sent into the guardrail. Then they go back inside yet again. DDP goes for a dirty pin, but Nick Patrick sees it and says no. There's a military press.
Easy for you to say.
Thank you. Which DDP drops Eddie right on his face.
Oh yeah, that was
He
kind of
landed
brutal.
right on his head off of that military press, and then there's a gutbuster to Eddie for a near fall, and then a tilt-a-whirl side slam for another DDP near fall. Then Nick Patrick gets mad at DDT about something.
Did you just call him DDT?
I did. DDP over something, and then kind of shoves him, and then
The Nick Patrick goes full dad mode.
Nick Patrick does not take that. He shoves down DDP so hard that it allows Eddie Guerrero to get a near fall.
Well, and then
Dude, he punked him.
yeah, and then he got him in the corner and was like, pointing at him.
He was,
in the
like,
face
dressing
and
him down in
screaming.
the
It was
corner.
like he just found out his son drank for the first time and was giving him a tongue lashing.
And DDP was like begging.
Yeah,
Begging.
yeah.
he
DDP
was sitting
was
in
like
the corner,
scared,
begging for mercy.
Wait, which let's also get to the fact that I think DDP was kind of the heel here,
He
and
was.
Nick Patrick's a heel referee.
It was a weird dynamic they had going here.
It was
But to be
just-
fair, there was no NWO member in this match, so he was kind of calling it down the middle.
This was like the only one that Nick Patrick did that didn't have an NWO member.
That's
Well,
true.
Nick disappeared after the next match for a while.
Did he?
Yeah,
He was in there for a few, I thought.
he did the second, third, and fourth, I think.
Yeah.
And then disappeared.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So then, of course, after Nick Patrick yells at DDP in the corner, they make amends and shake hands, and that's literally the last. That goes nowhere else. That's the last time you'll see them argue in this match, which was just like, I thought that was gonna go somewhere, but apparently not. And then there's an Eddie roll up for a near fall, and then a sunset flip for a near fall. They trade several roll up attempts at this point. So Eddie goes for the roll up, DDP goes for the roll up. A lot of near falls there, and then DDP misses a kick. Eats a huge European uppercut by Eddie. Then there's a flying crossbody to DDP outside, and then back in the ring, Eddie Guerrero eats a big pancake for a near fall by DDP. Then there's a sit out powerbomb for a DDP near fall. Again, DDP is the much larger man in this match and is getting a lot of the big man offense in. And then kind of out of nowhere, there's a diamond cutter, and DDP gets the win.
You forgot about Diamond Dallas Page hitting the
pancake.
Styles Clash.
The
You
pancake.
called it a pancake.
Yeah,
it's really called a Styles Clash.
It's like a Styles Clash, but he doesn't lock the arms behind the legs.
It's his signature.
That's the
He calls
difference.
it the pancake.
Yes, and then he hits the diamond cutter for the win. I thought it was a pretty okay match. I gave it 3 stars. It was not a match of the year contender, but it just, I thought they had good chemistry with each other.
It was good. I gave it 3 as well. I was entertained. We talked a few weeks ago about a match, and I forget what the match was, that should have been better. It was good, but it could have been better, and I think this is one of those that.
Yeah.
There's one more on this show too that I think is like this, but the two guys are so talented they could have been a 5-star match. And
I agree.
God damn it, I miss Eddie Guerrero.
Me too.
Yeah,
man. Me too.
That makes all of us, man. But then again, you do got to consider that, Eddie's always been good, but he was super young. He was young here, and they have conflicting styles, and that
for sure.
That's kind of hard to get that chemistry. So
No, that's true. That's true.
I gave it 3 stars. I actually thought I enjoyed it. DDP, and this is where we get to the gushing part. DDP is, I just have so much respect for him. Not only, first of all, as a wrestler, his moveset was always really unique. He had the flapjack, pancake, and all that good stuff, and just tilt-a-whirls out the butt, good stuff like that. But he got started so late in the game and still was able to build such a legacy. Like, that's so impressive to me. But most of all, he's probably the greatest humanitarian in wrestling history. Right?
Oh, for sure. And It's a damn shame how the WWE treated him as an active member of the roster.
Yeah, he could have been.
The stalking angle was garbage.
He could have had,
He could have done way more.
I heard an idea that was pitched for a People's Champion feud between The Rock and Diamond Dallas Page, and I think that would have been excellent.
Well, it's just wild that in the whole invasion, because he was part of the invasion, or did he come a little
Correct.
after? Yeah,
Invasion.
Yeah, he could have led the damn charge, especially when they had so little. They had all those guys with contract disputes and all that who just sat at home. He was the highest profile.
Him and Booker T. Yeah.
Yeah, so he should have been leading the charge. Like, there's no question.
So that angle could have been so much better if they could have got a Savage or a Sting or a Flair or a Hogan and brought some more guys in. But when you just base it around Booker T and DDP and a bunch of no-name guys, and then they brought the ECW guys in, which was cool, but then they just completely buried everybody.
Yeah, the invasion. We can do a whole show
on how it should have been booked. Yeah,
in the invasion, and several people have. But
again, Zach, we talked the other day. We were kind of debating online with a friend of the podcast, Dakota, that Vince ruins things that he didn't create.
Yeah,
and Diamond Dallas Page is one of those guys.
Yeah, no, largely I would agree with you. I think on a lot of counts there. Yeah. So.
Also, I mean, DDP saved Jake the Snake's life, saved Scott Hall's life. Just that alone, I mean, deserves all the credit in the world. And he's just the ultimate good guy. He's got DDP yoga, which, I mean, you've literally seen there's like this war vet that couldn't run or couldn't even walk. He was wheelchair bound, and all of a sudden did DDP yoga and could straight up sprint. Like, it's literally he's just changed lives, and he's amazing. I love you.
We
Diamond.
love you.
Friend of the podcast, Diamond Dallas Page. So after
Boyfriend
that,
of the
we
podcast.
got potentially my favorite moment, my favorite part of this pay-per-view. I loved this so much. So Randy Savage is cutting a promo backstage.
Can you explain what he's wearing?
Oh, absolutely. He's dressed head to toe in what I can only call Slim Jim propaganda, because he's got this orange and black suit. It's his ring gear, and then he's got his jacket.
It's the stuff that you're used to seeing Macho Man wear.
Except it says "rip into it."
No,
all
snap
over
into it.
Snap into it
sorry.
in black and orange.
Which, by the way, if you live in a cave, I mean, Macho Man was like the exclusive spokesperson for
Yes.
Slim Jims.
He was
Slim Jim.
He was Mr. Jim at this point, and he is dressed. I'm not joking you, head to toe in Slim Jim apparel. And first he cuts a promo about Hogan, and he's just out of control. He's yelling and screaming, and then after that,
He's past Flair on the out of control meter.
and then after that, Mike Tenay's like, "All right, it's time to announce the contest winner," and they bring out this like
Giant Slim Jim.
Yeah. giant Slim Jim box, yeah.
which Macho Man rips in half, and then he picks a winner out, and he says,
My mommy can't win this one because that would be bad.
and then who wins?
Joan Machalik of Michigan. So
Congratulations, Joan.
Was it Joan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And either Joe or Joan.
It was Joan, yeah.
It was Joan because he mentioned taking her on a date in the truck that she just won.
Joan Machalik. And when you see this, when we describe this truck that shows up, I had a hard time keeping it
Kyle
together.
was drinking water when the truck came out, and he literally spit his water out.
And that's in the main event, but I was choking on my water.
And
I loved this whole
Oh,
segment.
yeah, no,
I loved
dude.
everything about it.
I was giggling.
I was absolutely giddy the whole time. And then the last part that really cracked me up was like Mike Tenay was like, "Thank you very much, Macho. One more thing."
Just cuts off Mike Tenay.
Just out of nowhere, just screams, and I died.
And what
was
did he say after the one more thing?
I don't even remember.
I don't remember, but it was funny.
And then after that, it gets even better, because then after that, Tony Schiavone talks about how if you want to log into your CompuServe, he says, WCW computer users, you can log into CompuServe and talk live to a WCW wrestler right now. And then they cut to some other backstage area, and you have Chris Jericho sitting next to some IT nerd on this like old like Windows 95 laptop.
And Jericho's telling him what to write.
And then he's like,
It's just ghostwriting.
oh, it was just so great.
And then we go to Tenay and Dean Malenko. We're just going all over the place.
Yeah, and then we get to Tenay and Dean Malenko. Dean just says he's really glad to be the new champion.
And he'll give Ray another shot or something.
Yeah, and if anybody wants another shot, Ray or otherwise, just wait in line. I'm gonna be fighting everybody. And then I thought, all right, it's time for this match. At this point, I was almost certain they were like delaying for a cage match setup or something. They weren't, but it was just, I don't know if they had to get these next guys in a position or what. because then we have an NWO interview where DiBiase is in the middle of the crowd and he's talking with the Giant, and Virgil's just standing there for all of these NWO interviews. By the way,
Virgil is sitting here and he's so annoyed because he just wants to go to Olive Garden and get that meat sauce
gets
money.
to say anything.
That fuck money meat sauce, baby.
And then basically, DiBiase puts the Giant over, and that leads directly into our next match, which is the Giant versus Jeff Jarrett with Ric Flair in Jarrett's corner.
And Rick is going nuts this whole match.
Rick, there's one point in the match, which we'll get into it, but Rick literally stops the match to cut a promo. In the middle of this match, he grabs a microphone and just starts cutting a promo. And you can hear him just screaming like, get up, Jeff, get up, Jeff. It was awesome.
It was funny.
It was hilarious. This match, however, was not so funny.
I also want to point out right now.
Yes, please.
Me and Zach were fucking dying throughout the show.
I thought the show was hilarious.
And Luke is like, this is bad.
No,
Not until the end.
That wasn't
Not till
until
the
the
end.
end.
Yeah.
Stop it.
But he
To be
did not
fair,
find it
to be
as funny as me
No,
and Zach
I
did.
found this
I thought
hilarious.
this man. I guess we'll get into the match, but so Jeff Jarrett starts out with a strut to begin the match, and then Flair's firing the crowd up. He's like running back and forth at ringside, like
a
high-fiving
cheerleader.
the crowd, like going crazy. The crowd, it's worth noting, is way more into Flair than they are this actual match.
Macho Man and Ric Flair are having a uncontrollable off, if that makes sense, because they're seeing who can be more crazy, more
Yes.
nuts, and more out of control.
And so Flair's going crazy this whole time.
Also, Jeff Jarrett's outfit
Is awful.
sucks.
He looks like
So does the
It's the-
Giants. They both these two are wearing.
It's the Double J one that he did in WWF like early on. Those white, small,
Straps.
thin, spaghetti straps. And then the Giant, of course, is billed as Andre's son.
so he's wearing like the Andre
The- yeah, the
singlet, and it
singlet.
does him no favors.
no. You can see there's no.
It's
He
too
does not
tight.
leave much to the imagination. So we start the match off. The Giant hits a big sidewalk slam to Jeff Jarrett, and then a Beal to Jarrett. Jarrett tries to kind of get back into things. He gets a sleeper on the Giant outside the ring. There's some corner strikes. Flair teases some involvement here. He does not get involved, though, yet. And then the Giant headbutts Jeff Jarrett in the nuts. I don't think I've seen a headbutt to the nut spot that
I feel like that was one of his signatures, though. I feel
Was
like
it?
Yeah, I feel like he did that a lot.
Just it's a good time for nut trauma. We will get more nut trauma, by the way, later on. Actually,
Of all the things
Here in a
to
minute.
hit somebody else's nuts with, why
your
would
head.
All
Why
right.
your head? Because
All
he's
right.
got a bit. I mean, that head probably weighs 40 pounds, right? And he's slamming
it's
that. bad
quite
boy.
the melon going into those grapefruits.
It really is. There's a backbreaker again to Jeff Jarrett. Flair cuts a mid-match promo here. This is when he grabs the mic, just starts going ham. Then there's a crossbody by the Giant, or from Jeff Jarrett to the Giant, and then it gets countered into a bear hug by the Giant, and then into two backbreakers, and then another bear hug, and then there's two Jeff Jarrett drop kicks, which Jeff Jarrett gets up for the. We got to give the guy credit when it's due. We like to give people credit when they deserve it. Jeff Jarrett got up. He was in the sky for these drop kicks.
I've always liked Jared,
Yeah,
and I
he
know
has a good drop kick.
you guys don't really like Jarrett very much, but you cannot deny how pretty that drop
Man,
kick is.
especially when you see it on somebody as tall as the Giant, because he
You know
was
who
at
else-
his head.
You know who else has a really good drop kick that I don't like?
Randy Orton.
Yes.
I knew you were gonna say it. He has a great drop.
He has a great drop kick, and I can't stand him.
Ha!
Thank you.
Thanks,
Double J.
Jeff.
So again, that was two nice drop kicks there to the Giant, and then he goes for a body slam, but the Giant just counters it into a crossbody. Basically, just falls on Jarrett, and that gets a near fall. And then there's a double axe handle crossbody for a Jeff Jarrett near fall, and then he goes for the figure four outside, and then it gets countered, and then Jeff Jarrett gets kicked out of the ring, and then he throws the Big Show into the post outside. Then we get the figure four outside. I guess the figure four earlier he tried was inside, and then he got kicked out of the ring. And then outside he does get the figure four in, and then it gets countered by the Giant, and then he teases a choke slam, and then Flair comes up from behind out of nowhere and just punches Show right in the dick to call for the DQ. And so Big Show wins, the Giant wins
Wow.
by disqualification. I thought this match was pretty boring.
It was so boring. It was so
sucked.
bad.
This is not a good match.
It's not the worst match on the card.
At least we got
but-
dick trauma.
And we got Ric Flair wooing and wooing and wooing.
I gave it 1.75.
I gave it 1.5. I was not entertained. The only thing that kept it up was the dick trauma, the drop kicks,
And
and
Flair.
Ric Flair.
I didn't like this match because it was bad. I gave it 1.5 stars, and no, it sucked. And I will say though, Ric Flair having a live mic made it a little bit better.
Yeah,
And
him popping out that live mic was
just
hilarious.
ridiculous.
That was great.
I mean, how can you focus on the match anyway? But I can only think of the Giant. Also, I can only think of him. I don't know if it was the Halloween Havoc in '95 or '94, but whenever him and Hogan faced off in sumo monster trucks, he fell off of the top of Cobo Hall, and like him and Hogan were like fighting outside the trucks, and all of a sudden they're on top of the side of the building, and he's just like, whoa, and he's like flailing his arms, whoa, 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 and it was just as ridiculous as can be.
What is WCW's obsession with monster trucks?
They're cool, man. This was the late 90s.
Yeah,
Late
dude, this
90s.
was Gravedigger. This was
guess.
Gravedigger's freaking heyday.
This is Monster Truck Mania.
It was nuts.
So after that wonderful match,
It was bad.
the Horsemen run out. The 4 Horsemen run out to aid Ric Flair, and then DiBiase is back in the stands and with Virgil and Six by his side.
And Virgil is just standing there lonely again.
Yet again, he does not get to say a word on this show. And this time DiBiase is talking about how much better Six is than Jericho, which can only mean one thing. And that is that this next match is Six versus Jericho.
Sexy Chris Jericho.
This is like baby Chris
I mean, yeah,
Jericho.
Jericho's a handsome guy.
The
I'll buy that.
flowing locks. Like, no, dude, he looks good.
I don't know if I'd say handsome.
No
I'd say
homo,
cute.
but
Because he still looks like a little boy.
he's dashing.
Well, let's get into the match.
Okay.
So we have a grapple exchange to start. Nice Irish whip exchange. Lots of technical stuff here in the beginning of the match. And then Jericho just lays out Six with this big boy chop. Sounds like a gunshot's going off in the arena. The corner splash to Six. Jericho gets kicked off the top rope to the outside. He's sent to the barricade. And then there's a senton by Six to the outside. And then Six stomps Jericho in the corner. And then there's some more chops to Jericho this time from Six. Then a chin lock to Jericho. And then a nice spin kick and then a flying knee to Jericho from Six on the apron. And then we get a top rope. Six went for a top rope Bronco Buster, it looked like.
That was weird. I've
And-
never seen him do that before.
And then Jericho just kind of moved out of the way and caused Six to crash into the turnbuckle. And then there's a back body drop to Six, and then who rolls out of the ring to take a breather. And Chris Jericho says, nope, not on my watch. Hits a top rope crossbody outside to Six. And a lot of, I noticed a lot of the offense did go to Six in this match. Jericho got most of his offense off reversals and counters and things like that, which I thought was interesting. So Jericho gets up top. He hits a back elbow for a near fall and then hits Snake Eyes, gets Snake-Eyed by Six, I should say. And then there's a crossbody countered into a drop kick for a near fall by Six. And the flapjack lion salt.
to his back.
Yeah, there's a flapjack which knocks Six down to his back, and then he hits a lion salt onto the back and do a bridging pin, which is pretty cool. And then we got a crossbody for a near fall, and then Six hit a spin kick, kind of for an abrupt win.
That was a weird ending.
It was. This was an okay match. This was not a bad match.
No.
I think given what they could have done, again, we said this with X-Pac last week, that it just seems like this could have been more. I give it 2.8. I wanted to give it 3, but I just wanted to see it hit that next gear, and it never did. But there was some fun stuff in it. It was not a bad match, I don't think.
I gave it 2.75, and these are probably two of the most talented wrestlers on this roster at this time. Because X-Pac is severely underrated, and Chris Jericho is the GOAT. So, as he calls himself, and I kind of think so sometimes. But they could have done a lot more. And I wasn't disappointed because I liked the match, but I was wanting more out of it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I gave it 2 3/4. Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was solid. The finish was weird, and X-Pac when he feels like it. I didn't realize this before, but now that I'm going back and watching more X-Pac matches, and we love you, by the way, but it was when he felt like putting on a good match, he would put on a good show, but he wasn't feeling like putting on that great of a match here. And he was younger. I mean, you got to figure he's not too far departed from the 1-2-3 kid.
Yeah,
at this
him
point.
and Jericho are both really young, too. And I'm sure, giving them a match like 2 or 3 years later could have torn the house down.
Also, we've never really commented on this, Zach, but what the hell is up with 2.8? What is up with your weird decimal system
I just
of
thought
stars?
I thought it was better than 2.75, but I didn't want to give it a 3.
Okay, fair enough. Luke,
the Zachary
come on.
decimal system?
Exactly.
Luke, just leave him alone, man.
So after that
Stop.
match, guys, can you please stop fighting? We have a
Sorry,
professional.
Dad.
We have a professional podcast we're running here.
Sorry, Dad.
So after that, we get my favorite thing in the world, a Lex Luger interview.
Okay.
backstage.
Okay, you guys need to look up Lex Luger. Like his face.
No, thank you.
His face in this interview. He looks just like I picture the Ultimate Warrior without makeup.
Especially, it's the hair, dude.
It's the hair.
the
It's the
build.
It's the ugly nose. It's a lot of stuff.
The jacked
Yeah, the
muscles.
Just big guy with no talent that wrestles. That's big.
So basically, he says here
We're
that
burying you, Lex Luger. Just
Yeah,
don't
we
bury
are.
us, please.
And hey, not you, Ultimate Warrior. Just Luger.
Yeah, and then basically all he says is he's gonna beat Arn Anderson. Which is the
in many
next match.
words that
Yes.
weren't necessary.
This was a bad promo.
And we do get a match that is Lex Luger versus Arn Anderson.
And Arn Anderson needs to just shave his goddamn head.
He's got like the Friar Tuck hairstyle going on here.
It's like the reverse Hulk Hogan.
It really is.
Like Tyson Kidd. Remember when he
had the bangs?
Yeah, when he had the weird bangs only, and then the
kinda
rest of his
like
hair was
that.
bald and it was just spiked up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, it is.
It's ugly.
Just the middle-aged version.
This is when I noticed the Crockett tombstone for the first time because they zoomed in on it. They very much wanted you to see it.
And like you said, Zach, you commented, Arn Anderson has just eternally been middle-aged.
He was born in his 40s.
yeah,
I feel
he looks like he should be barbecuing.
He does. And I mean that in a good way. Friend
And
of the podcast,
spine bustering.
Arn Anderson.
Yeah,
Arn
yeah,
Anderson.
he should have like a kiss the cook apron on and a nice spatula with his favorite football team carved into the bottom, which I'm just gonna go out there and guess it's probably like the Colts or something.
Oh, I see him as like a Packers fan.
No, he's like one of those mid guys, you know,
Maybe the
Midwest?
Falcons.
the Panthers. He was from North Carolina.
go,
There you go.
Go Colts.
I guess we got to talk about this match now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So Arn gets the early offense in. There's a nice gut punch, and then corner strikes to Lex. A military press to Arn from Lex, who then gets sent outside. We get a double axe handle off the apron to Arn from Lex, and then Arn gets ran into the corner. Back in the ring, eats a power slam, and then there's a backbreaker to Arn from Lex for a near fall. Arn gets put in like the inverted tree of woe, which causes Lex to just kick him in the back a bunch of times. Arn does recover and hits the classic Arn Anderson spinebuster, best ever.
Yes, easily the best ever.
I can buy that. Best ever. And then we get a ref bump here after the inverted tree of woe spot. And then there's an abdominal stretch spot here that I did not need to see.
Can I stop you for a minute? At one point of this match, Lex Luger's thrown out of the ring, and somebody in the crowd takes all their popcorn and dumps it on Lex Luger.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, Lex just gets popcorned.
It was so funny.
Isn't he supposed to be the face here?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
He was kind of shades of gray.
And
seemed.
Shades of shit.
So the Horsemen
Brown.
are faces, I think, because in the Jeff Jarrett match, Jeff Jarrett is kind of part of the Horsemen, but he's not.
Yeah.
And they're facing the NWO, who are the heels.
Yeah, I guess they kind of technically are the
And
faces here.
and then later on, the Faces of Fear, who have got to be the heels, are facing Christopher Benoit and Steve Mongo McMichael.
True. Yeah, maybe you're right.
So I don't know what's going on.
So the ref bump happens, the ref's down, and so we get outside of the ring. Arn goes for a chair shot. He misses it. And then there's probably the sloppiest slingshot I've ever seen in my entire life.
Shitty.
This
Right
was
into the
so
Slim Jim
ugly.
post.
Arn sloppily gets sent into the Slim Jim post, but he barely made it. And then Arn gets suplexed outside the ring, and then Lex hits Arn with a chair outside hard several times. And this is like I think as Luke put it, a bingo hall chair. It's like this old like gold chair.
Yeah, it is the chair that we've seen in every like small church, every
Yeah.
small recreational senior center. It's that chair, and yeah, they were
And Lex
whacking
just
each
assaults him outside. By this point, they get back in the ring. The ref is recovered. Lex puts Arn in the torture rack, who can't stand the pain and quits. This
Me
match
neither.
This match sucked. I give it 1.25.
I gave it 1. I was so bored. And then afterwards, Luger just would not let up on that torture
Yeah,
rack.
Luger after post match, Luger kept the torture rack in, which caused the Horsemen to come out and help, and then he actually even got put on a stretcher after that as well. Luke, what did you think of the match?
God, I forgot that he even got put on a stretcher because I just wanted to block that shit out. I gave it a 1, but I kind of want to give it like a 3/4 of a star. But I'll stick with the 1 just because Arn Anderson, and it had some offense in it. Like, things happened. It was just all garbage except for that beautiful spine buster.
And the beautiful slingshot.
That
Right into
slingshot-
the. By the way, did we mention just how far they sold out on Slim Jim? Like, because the turnbuckle posts are all Slim Jim.
They're Slim Jim. You don't go a minute. I think probably literally in the show without seeing a Slim
Probably
Jim.
less than a minute. It's probably like 30
Because
seconds.
it's everywhere.
With the aprons?
It's on the ring.
Yeah, it's on the
apron.
aprons.
It's on the corner posts.
God.
It's on the logo for the show. It's on all the commentary people's shirts.
It's all over Macho Man.
Slim Jim, and I don't mind. Hey,
That must have paid Hogan's contract that night.
I understand
I love Slim Jims.
that you got to have sponsors and you got to do what you got to do, but this was a little invasive.
But hey, I love Slim Jims. I want to snap into one right now.
I'll eat a Slim Jim, but if I'm going to get a meat stick from the store, I'm going Tillamook pepperoni every time. I like Slim Jims, but I just give me that fresh that fresh Tillamook, you know? Luke knows what I'm saying. Fist bump.
I don't know. There's just something about that like the extra hot Slim Jim that's just so good.
See, I feel like they always tasted super artificial.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, they're on our Slim
sometimes.
Jim sponsorship.
Slim Jim's no longer going to sponsor us.
Sorry,
So
Kyle.
backstage, Lee is back after his sabbatical of a few backstage interviews. He's in the locker room this time, and he wants to know, where do you think Sting is? Why don't you call the WCW hotline? And
Which
Let us know.
WCW blocked, so we couldn't try to call it.
we were going to call this hotline, and it said number no longer active on the screen, so we couldn't. And then the Harlem Heat with Sherry, and who I can only describe as a plantation owner,
It's
as the
Colonel
Harlem Heat's manager.
Robert Parker, and this is like the most racist thing that I've ever seen. It's like an old white couple.
It's like an 1800s plantation owner as their manager.
Yeah, because I guess he's all in the white Colonel Sanders outfit with the cowboy hat, which isn't too far from when he played Tennessee Lee with Double J in the WWF. And then Sherry's like in a Southern Belle. You're right, she's
Yeah.
in like a Southern Belle dress.
It's like they're definitely implying something.
And then like you have Brain and Dusty Rhodes, I think, even like referring to Harlem Heat as thugs, and like
yeah, there were some
It's-
problematic things happening.
Booker,
with the Harlem
Booker
Heat.
T's dealt with a lot of shit.
I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
man.
lie, this was kind of uncomfortable in a way because it was like you're really poking fun at these guys for being fucking slaves.
It was they didn't. So the thing is, they didn't come out and just say it,
No.
but
They
it was
implied
heavily
it.
implied.
And it was just one of those things that made it's you look back at it and there's a lot of wrestling things we all cringe at.
That this was one of them for me. For
Katie
sure.
Vick is one of them. Snitsky kicking the baby, as funny as that was, is one of them. And this is
It wasn't
definitely
his
up
fault.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely implied, and it was definitely very uncomfortable.
It was just cringeworthy.
And we weren't, I don't know, I don't think we noticed a lot of these nuances, but in this day and age, we're just a lot more sensitive to,
Yeah,
we're just a
yeah.
lot more attuned to
And also,
tasteless shit.
when me and Zach probably watched this show, we were like 5 years old the first time.
Yeah. So we weren't thinking about things like
I
that.
was one.
And you were just a little boy.
So
A baby.
it does lead into our next match, which is going to be the Harlem Heat. No, I'm sorry, that's a lie. It's going to be the Faces of Fear, which is Mang and the Barbarian versus Mike McMichael, Steve McMichael,
Steve Mongo McMichael, and
Chris Benoit.
I gotta point out, Jimmy Hart walks the Faces of Fear out to the ring, and they are dressed in like dark. They're
Yeah.
dark colors, gray, black, white, kind of. And out comes Jimmy Hart with
He looked ridiculous.
the most colorful, ridiculous suit that has on the back the Faces of Fear, Conan, and Kevin Sullivan's faces on it.
And then of course his tie is himself airbrushed.
It is just phenomenal.
He always looks very colorful and outlandish, but man, I could hardly hear the entrance music over how loud his suit was as he came out to the ring.
God,
That's pretty good.
he
Thanks
looks
for that,
great. And if I could ever get my hand on that suit, I would be proud.
You know he's auctioned off so many, because he had like one for every pay-per-view, didn't he?
Yeah.
Something different
I
that was
think
all
so.
like airbrushed. And these guys were part of the Dungeon of Doom, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So we do
Oh,
get.
can I stop you real
no,
quick?
yeah, please.
Also, we forgot to mention that they keep showing out in the crowd Kevin Sullivan, Conan, and Ray Traylor, who's
That's right.
formerly known as the Big Boss Man.
And they're just kind of hanging out, enjoying the show for now. And then this does lead into our match, and it starts out with Ming and McMichael are in the match. The grapple exchange to start. There's a kind of like a couple like big man shoulder blocks where neither man's gonna go down. They both kind of no sell it, and then Ming no sells a clothesline, and then he eventually does get tackled down by McMichael. And then Barbarian and Benoit come in. Benoit eats some corner chops. There's a bridging suplex near fall to Barbarian from Benoit that was really nice. Man, Benoit, even at this early stage in his career, was just everything was so snug and everything was so
You could tell
tight.
that he had it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could tell he had that it factor here. He's got the cool Four Horsemen tights on with the 4H. That looked really cool. Barbarian cannot sink the Boston Crab on Benoit, and then McMichael and Ming are back in, and then Ming palm strikes the hell out of McMichael, sends him into the corner, and then hits a chop block, and then Ming eats a spin kick, and there's a double headbutt to McMichael. So
the
both
double headbutt was cool.
both of the members of the Faces of Fear headbutted McMichael.
Oh, that was sweet.
That was awesome. This is when things started to get a little messy here. So there's a body slam to McMichael. He misses a drop kick to Ming, and then another body slam by McMichael. Then Benoit and Ming get in, and then Barbarian gets in, and they powerbomb Benoit. There's a near fall there, and then Benoit gets choked against the ropes and doesn't like that. Then he gets up on the top rope, and then he eats this huge top rope German suplex by McMichael from the top rope. That was just the impact.
It was by Benoit.
It was by Benoit. I apologize, but the impact on that suplex was for both men. I think Benoit might have eaten the worst of it, actually.
Yeah.
I feel like if you go back in retrospect, Benoit ate the worst of like a lot of moves, which kind of
Which
speaks
is
to
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to it's hard to watch Chris Benoit matches sometimes.
Yeah.
There's two parts of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of me that loves watching Chris Benoit matches because he was a phenomenal pro wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I partway feel guilty watching Chris Benoit
Yeah.
matches.
No, I know exactly
And
how
enjoying
you feel.
it.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
how you feel.
And you know, there's like a band that I like called the Lost Prophets, and their lead singer did some very despicable things as well. And like I love their music, but like when I listen to it, like part of me feels bad, and I'm in the same stage with Chris Benoit. I'm like, you were a fucker, but you were great.
He was.
It's just a shame that he couldn't have just been a shit wrestler.
It's a shame that he couldn't have just
Sorted
taken
his stuff
himself
out.
and
Well,
not his
yeah,
family.
yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Yeah, sorry, that made me sound shitty.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not how I meant that.
It's really like as bad as this sounds too. Like, I just wish he would have taken himself only.
Yeah, because he took
Because nobody ever wants anybody to do any of that. But if it's gonna happen, don't take the kid and the wife.
Yeah, it's a shame. He was on his way to being one of the best ever.
He was one of the best ever.
And I mean, just
that 2004 run was so fun.
Was incredible.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Anyways, then we get another double flying headbutt this time for a near fall because the ref is a little bit distracted here because stuff's starting to get a little hairy outside the ring. And then Ming, there's a briefcase gets introduced somewhere. It's the Horseman's briefcase, right? Somehow gets introduced here, and then Ming gets hit with it, and then Benoit gets up top for the flying headbutt for the win. There was some hairy like outside ring stuff happening towards the end of this match. I don't know where the briefcase came from or what was in the briefcase, but Ming ate the briefcase and then ate the flying headbutt. I give the match 2.5, and then there's a little post-match scuffle that happens as well.
Okay, the post-match scuffle was Conan, Ray Traylor, and Sullivan jump into the ring and attack Benoit and Mongo.
And the rest of the Four Horsemen are nowhere
the
to be
Horsemen
seen.
never come out.
I don't know if it was supposed to be they were supporting Arn.
It was weird. I gave it 2 1/3 stars. I also want to tell a story about Ming. You
Or
guys,
Haku.
So this is fun. You guys should Google Haku fight stories. So I Googled one so I can read it to you guys.
Okay.
Basically, Kevin Sullivan and Ming walked into a bar one night, and a local guy playing pool called Ming a derogatory name, right? So Haku ends up fighting the guy. Another guy gets involved, and it says, after this, things got even crazier. Haku bit through the guy's shirt like a wolf and bit a chunk out of the guy's back and spit it on the floor. And then Kevin Sullivan said, I think it's time to go.
So you might have had a tumultuous night, but it wasn't like that.
Yeah. I don't think anybody like.
And still to this day, that man is missing a part of his back.
So I would hope anybody listening to this podcast afterwards goes and looks up Haku fight stories because they were incredible.
There's plenty of them, and
that's not even like the worst
He's a
one. That was just the
monster,
first
dude.
one that popped up.
I mean, he was, from everything I hear, people loved him, and he was super nice. But once you turn that switch, man, he was a savage.
I believe Pritchard's podcast, they said that he was the nicest person until you flip the switch.
Oh wow, that's crazy. And now,
Jeez.
of course, he's managing his children in the OG Bullet Club over New Japan.
And there was a really fun story a couple years ago where his nephew, Dwayne, went and bought him
Who?
Dwayne.
Oh.
Went and bought him a new car with all of his movie monies because Haku really
helped him out early in his career.
helped young Rocky and
there we
Maivia
go.
out. So
There we go.
it's fun how all these wrestlers kind of connect.
Oh, for sure.
Also, I gave this 2.5 stars.
All right, so we're on the same page for that one.
And Kevin Sullivan. So I don't know if we mentioned this, but
Please get into it.
So Chris Benoit came out with, I don't know if they called Nancy Benoit a woman.
It was just she was just woman.
Was she? Okay. Because I know that ECW she was, but I wasn't sure about.
She was. Her title card just said woman.
Okay. And then Mongo McMichael, I guess he was married to Deborah at this point? Or
Yes.
He was with Deborah. And this is a young Deborah. Like,
Yeah.
I could not even recognize her. Definitely.
She went through a lot in a few years.
Yeah, prior boob job, too. But Kevin Sullivan got, he took his shirt and everything off. He was down to just his wife beater.
And he was gave this threatening look to woman.
Yeah, he was like, yeah.
It was
I guess
creepy.
he didn't really get too physical with her, but he pretty much got as close as you could and was just being really, really strange.
Yeah, it was weird.
for no reason.
Not a good ending.
And then he turned around and took out Benoit and just laid them out, and they're dead.
But 2.5 stars. Meng is good.
Ooh.
What?
Ooh, that too soon.
Phrasing.
Yikes.
And
So after
moving
that,
on.
Ted DiBiase is once again up on the rafters. This time he's talking about how the tag team titles are not going to be on the Harlem Heat after tonight. And, of course, Virgil still hanging out.
Virgil just wants his meat sauce money, boys.
He's going to get it.
And that leads into our next match, which is going to be the Outsiders, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, versus the Harlem Heat, Stevie Ray and Booker T, who are the current champions. And this is for the WCW Tag Team
And there's a
Championships.
lot of people outside the ring on this one. DiBiase's outside, and so is Colonel Robert Parker and Sherry.
Yeah, a lot of ringside here. And right off the bat, Scott Hall flicks a toothpick at Booker to start the match.
I love that.
Yeah.
I've
And
always loved
the
that.
little hoo
Yeah.
ring afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then almost immediately the crowd is distracted for a long while. I don't know if there was a fight.
There was a fight in the crowd because one of the announcers
the
said
real fight's
something
in the
like the
ring.
real fight's
Yeah.
in the ring, not in the
Dusty.
crowd.
Yeah.
They were distracted
The
for,
real fight's
for
in
a
the
while.
ring.
Only for the first few minutes. They didn't miss too much, but it was still enough to definitely be noticed because the hard cam, where the hard cam was positioned, you were able to see like the entire first 5 rows of people stand up and like look to the left, right as this match was beginning. So there was a bit of a distraction there. There's a kick to Hall, and then Hall shoulder blocks Booker, and then Hall gets sent outside, and then Ray gets spit on by Hall. Does not like that, and then Kevin Nash comes in. And then Nash eats some knees in the corner, and then Ray spits on Hall when he gets the chance. It's not really a spit as much as it is like a mist. Because Hall's spit
Yeah.
was like a loogie spit. And then,
Someone's got to teach him how to.
yeah, and then Stevie Ray just kind of misted Hall in the corner there. And then Booker comes in, hits a scissor kick to Nash for a near fall. And then Nash gets back up and hits a sidewalk slam to Ray. And then Hall goes on the top rope, gets a top rope bulldog for a near fall. And then Booker comes back in. There's a running forearm to Hall for a near fall. And then, Booker T hits the sleeper hold for a while on Nash. And then Nash doesn't like that, nails Booker. And then there's a Uranagi, or as Kyle insists I call it, a rock bottom-ish move.
Luke
Yes.
also insists.
It was kind of like a choke slam, but
Yeah,
closer to the body.
He like choke slams his chest.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess.
And that caused a near fall. And then there's snake eyes to Booker. And then another one of the kind of modified Uranagis for a near fall.
Rock bottom-ish.
Rock bottom-ish, yes.
Even you can even say bookend and it's okay.
Yeah, it's a bit of a
No.
bookend. They're all a Uranagi, you know. And then
Watch
Booker
your mouth,
gets caught
sir.
by Hall in a crossbody attempt and then gets slammed for a
Can
near
you dig it?
fall. And then something weird happened here. So Scott Hall gets distracted by Sherry. And Scott Hall like kind of does a move on her, and then Sherry slaps Hall, and then apparently this made Scott Hall think he was entitled to just start macking down on Sherry because he starts making out
Yeah,
with
no,
her.
he inhales her face.
and
Man.
then one of the announcers actually has the gall to say, "She had it coming."
So weird. Such a
It
different
was
time.
really weird.
It was funny, but it's
It's
such
like,
a
excuse
different
me?
time. Because remember a few years ago, Ric Flair kissed Becky Lynch,
I remember
and
that.
people
Yeah.
were pissed.
yeah.
Like, it was weird. People were really upset about that.
Yeah, and
I
then,
mean, who wouldn't want to
after
kiss
that,
Becky
the
Lynch,
match
but-
true. The match continues after that. They trade sleepers, and there's a double down, and then Ray comes in and he takes out both members of the Outsiders, and there's a gorilla press to Hall, and then Hall gets thrown into Nash, and then there's a senton leg drop from Booker T from the top, and then Colonel Parker gets in with his cane, and he's ready to have at it on Nash, who Nash just takes the cane away and just destroys Stevie Ray, who's just dead, and then that causes Scott Hall to be able to roll over, who's down at this point after the leg drop, to get the pinfall, and we have new tag team champions. This was a decent match, a bit messy at times, a bit slow. I give it 2.5. Was not the worst thing I've ever seen by any stretch.
I also gave this 2 and a third star because I was just so confused on what was going on.
The ending was
But-
a bit silly.
Also, so the ending was goofy, but Booker T could have made the save.
Yeah, he was right there.
He was standing there. He just watched it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if he would just want to see his brother get beat up because sometimes I do. But
Well, you did. You did beat him up once, right?
yeah, me and my brother did get in a fight at work one time. It was great.
It happens. It happens.
It was
But
sweet.
me and my brother are homies, so
That's
we
good,
love each
that's
other.
Friend of the podcast, Logan.
Yeah. Luke, what did you think?
2 3/4. It's just some of these matches had the typical WCW finish, like where they just didn't know what the hell to do.
No, that you're right.
And Colonel Rob Parker like goes to hit Kevin. It was just very sloppy. He goes
Yeah.
to hit Kevin Nash, is like full swing, and then like stops before Kevin Nash even turns around and notices him, and so like that's delayed. And then he's basically just like, here, you can have this cane, and then he runs away. And then Kevin Nash, hits Stevie Ray, and Stevie Ray just like crumbles.
He's dead.
Like he just flops to the
And then
ground.
the weird thing was the ref was like
Motionless.
distracted by Booker for way too long, even though by this point Booker was outside and he was like, I'm fine. Like, you can turn around and watch the match.
Yeah,
now.
another one where it was like, I mean, Harlem Heat, arguably one of the best tag teams out there.
And the Outsiders.
Yeah, and obviously, but I mean,
Maybe they didn't have the chemistry.
the potential was not.
The Outsiders were just so cool. That the swag that
Yeah.
they had was amazing.
Yeah, they were awesome.
So up next, we get our main event of the evening. We get, instead of Ted DiBiase in the crowd, we change it up a little bit.
Let's get ready to.
Well, Ted was there.
He was there, but he was taking a back seat.
And so was Virgil again.
Yeah, of course.
By the way,
and the
all of those interview bits, they all sucked. Maybe this last
yeah.
one. Okay, this last one, but
So
they all
basically,
sucked.
Hogan cuts a promo, Barry's Macho Man, and it's worth noting, we had a hard time telling if this was actually Hogan or an
I thought it was
impersonator,
the disciple at
because
first.
he was wearing this like spiky toupee that looked asinine.
It
He
was
looked like Lodi.
awful.
He looked like Lodi. He had like the Lodi spikes.
He looked ridiculous.
It was terrible. But before we keep going, a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit of debate between us. Black and white Hogan or red and yellow Hogan?
Black and white.
Nah, dude.
It's black and white. It's black and white.
So, I guess that depends on what are we basing? What are we grading it on?
Personal preference.
I mean,
What-
red and yellow was the icon. Like he was the one that brought wrestling to the mainstream.
It's hard to pick because obviously I'm a huge fan, but I think the red and yellow is probably the better.
Yeah, heck yeah,
Because
White
I
and
think
black.
I think the white and black was cooler,
yeah.
but I think the red and yellow was better because the red and yellow built the WWE, and then the red and yellow rebirth. Do you remember the promo after WrestleMania 18?
Yeah.
Where there was like a 20-minute, like you couldn't say anything. It was just there was some magic in both, but I think there was more magic with the red and yellow. He was red and yellow for like 30 years.
Right.
Yeah,
They were both
yeah.
revolutionary, but I mean, it's the red and yellow, man. Plus, I
The
don't know,
matches were better in the red and yellow.
Maybe I'm just kind of a hater, but going back now and watching some of Hollywood Hogan's stuff, it's almost like he's a dad trying to be cool. Like I don't know. It just feels like sometimes he's just being kind of awkward when he's trying to be like a badass.
Well,
So I will say, watching this show, one thing that kind of stuck out to me, and I might take heat for saying this, but I feel like the NWO doesn't hold up as well as I remember them.
Ooh, you might, dude. I might be on board with you on
They're
this.
a bit hokey.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
oh yeah.
as a kid, don't get me wrong, as a kid, I loved the NWO. NWO and DX were like my influences growing up.
I
But,
think to a point when you're looking back 20 years later that both groups are a little hokey.
oh, for sure.
DX
for sure.
is a little
Yeah.
just fucking ridiculous. And,
yeah. No,
and-
definitely.
I also thought the DX had a little bit more of a realistic edge to him, though. I don't know.
I always like the NWO more than DX. I thought they had the gang mentality of like
Yeah.
if you hit one of our dogs, you're getting the whole pack.
Yeah.
Well, I think the NWO were always taken much more seriously, whereas DX was kind of just a comedy faction.
I would say they were more than a
Yeah.
comedy faction. They had comedy, but they were
I know, but
tag
they-
team champions, like
Well,
heavyweight
yeah, I mean,
champions.
yeah, obviously,
you know.
but they were built on comedy, whereas NWO was built on like being
Well, and they were also
credible-
built on the
And,
NWO.
You know,
Right.
the NWO was also really good at first. Like it was a really great idea at first
It fell off the wheels pretty quick
because you were adding
so many people.
guys that didn't even make sense, and
Yeah.
then you split the faction into two.
What do you think the tipping point was? Was it Bagwell?
Horace Hogan, Bagwell,
Yeah, pretty close to
Lex
there.
Luger going into the Wolfpack.
Yeah, it got bad.
I will say when they split at first, like I kind of liked it because the Wolfpack versus the white and black was awesome. But then you couldn't tell who was on which side anymore. And then
Yeah, I know.
then you had Bret Hart who wasn't like in the NWO, but he was associated with the NWO. But then one week he'd be fighting Hulk Hogan or other guys in the NWO, and the next week he'd be tagging with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
It was just weird.
Also, I can't remember what pay-per-view it was, and we might have already mentioned this on the podcast, but there was one 98 WCW pay-per-view I watched where it was basically just each match was members of Wolfpack against members of
Yeah.
White and Black, and no one came out to their own theme songs.
You're talking about Sold Out, I think, if I remember correctly.
Maybe. I don't know.
NWO sold out.
I think so.
But well, I don't know. I don't know if it was sold out. But
Might have been
anyway,
actually a little later
but it
than
was just like, you know, bam, up, wow, wow, and
Every single person.
dun, 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 and like it just got so annoying. And that was like there would be random voices over the theme songs too, like for life, new. Yeah. Anyway.
Fair enough. I guess we'll get into the match now. It was just something I kind of was thinking about. Like, man, the NWO, like, on this show, like, just didn't... I don't know. Anyways, this was a match that we had, which is going to be the Hulkster, the WCW champion, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, that's right.
For all you
Hulkamaniacs running wild here, versus the Macho Man Randy Savage. This was a title match, correct?
Yes.
For the WCW title.
And this was hilarious.
Thank goodness the Macho Man came out wearing that Slim Jim get-up, so I knew he's still on Team Slim Jim.
What else came out?
And then he comes out about halfway, he turns around...
And he points for what seems like 3 minutes.
And then out comes...
the most ridiculous monster truck in the world. It's got tassels on the side. It's got a cowboy hat. I was drinking water, and when it came out, I started choking because I was laughing so hard, and I was trying not to spit it all over me.
I've never seen a truck wearing a hat, but I didn't know it was something I needed to see until tonight.
Well, it's like it was trying to be the Macho Man's hat, but it looked a lot more like a cowboy, just a straight cowboy hat.
It looked like, as a Green Bay Packer fan, they make the cheese hats, and it looked like a Green Bay Packers cheese hat cowboy hat.
Yeah, it was out of control. This match is
out of control.
Is absolutely
Yeah.
ridiculous. I'm gonna get right into it.
This is fun, guys.
This is not much of a wrestling match, but this was a spectacle.
Listen, if you like fun, you'll get it here. But
This is super fun,
If you're
yeah.
looking for a 5-star
Yeah,
classic, you
two
will not
icons
get it.
actually having a good wrestling match.
You're not gonna get that at all. So pre-match, the show does the Giant does get booted out, away from ringside. He's got to go. See you, buddy.
And Virgil just disappears.
Virgil's gone. He never makes it to the ring. Poor guy almost made it to ringside and then turns around and leaves. He's probably just left at this point. So the whole first half of this match essentially was Hogan just avoiding Macho Man,
Which was getting the crowd pissed. Because
it was getting heat.
Yeah, they wanted to see Hogan get his comeuppance.
Yeah, he would just keep escaping.
Well done.
The crowd was just getting very upset with that. And then Hulk does get the early offense, hits some big chops to Macho Man eventually, keeps pandering to the crowd. Macho decides he's going to get a little bit of offense in, get some strikes there, and then a flying double axe handle, which knocks off Hogan's glasses, which the Macho Man promptly steals and puts right on. So he's wearing these,
Which was hilarious.
It's worth noting, by the way, Hogan never took off his shades until they fell off after that axe handle, and the Macho Man put them on, and then eventually the toupee does come off of Hogan's head, and of course it goes right onto Macho Man's head, who's now wrestling in a toupee and sunglasses.
It's so funny.
He looks like a clown, and then they wrestle out to the ramp, and then in one of the nastiest things I've seen in wrestling, Macho Man takes off this disgusting sweaty toupee and shoves it right into Hogan's mouth.
It was so
nasty.
funny, dude. I'm dying.
Yeah, no, these spots were hilarious. I will give it that.
Me and Zach are giggling like little schoolgirls.
And then there's a chair that comes out, so apparently this is a no disqualification match. Hogan hits Savage with the chair, and then Savage goes to return the favor, and then the ref decides he's going to stop it and takes the chair away. I don't know if this was a no disqualification match or not,
and then
but it had to have been.
Then the fans start throwing the Slim Jims.
Yeah, Slim Jims start getting thrown when they're at ringside, like they're by the barricade as the chair shots are being exchanged, and Slim Jims are flying. This was like the 1996 version of streamers because there are Slim Jims everywhere. And then there's a Savage atomic drop. He gets atomic drop right into the barricade, and then Hogan kisses him on the forehead, and then Liz comes out looking all concerned, and then they're back in the ring. Macho Man pulls on Hulk's tights, exposes his ass and his thong, gets 2 near falls that way.
It's so funny.
I love how you're just like skimming over, like you're just like, yeah, and then Hogan kisses him on the forehead, and then his ass is exposed. Which, by the way, he has a thong tan line.
He does.
It was so good.
Which is ridiculous.
It was hilarious. I mean, yeah, it's kind of
totally normal.
Like
whatever.
this is just the match. This is what the match is.
This is also what WrestleMania 5 looked like when the Mega Powers exploded. But you know,
so
we've also said this wasn't like a classic wrestling match. This was a classic humor match.
Yeah, and then Hogan gets clotheslined outside. He barely makes it out, but he does. And then he runs around to the front of the ring where Liz is, shields himself with Liz in front of him, manages to get back into the ring, eats a scoop slam, and then there's a running knee, which knocks Hogan back out of the ring. He shields himself with Liz again, and then he shoves Liz into Macho Man, which gives enough of a distraction for him to get taken out outside the ring. There's a Hulk big boot inside, and then Liz comes in the ring, throws herself onto Macho Man, which stops Hogan from getting the leg drop. And then Hogan kind of backs her into the corner. I don't know why the ref didn't kick her out at this point, because the Giant got kicked out, but apparently she's allowed to stay as long as she wants.
Well, Ted
pretty.
DiBiase was still there too.
And that's true.
Also, did we mention that Miss Elizabeth's dress is like hula grass?
It's like beads or
Yeah,
something.
it's like just weird rainbow hula grass.
I also have a quote that I forgot to mention.
Oh, please.
When Savage pulled Hogan's pants down, Heenan said, "I've seen that side of Hogan a lot," and I was like, "What?"
Yes, Brain, please elaborate.
Yeah, like what?
Or maybe not.
What are you
Because
talking
wasn't it? It was like there's a side of people there's a side of Hogan people don't see.
And he goes, "I've seen that side of Hogan a lot." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay,
Maybe
dude."
it's just him being an ass. I don't know.
I don't
Only
know.
the brain
It
could
was out
understand.
there. And then Hulk puts her in the corner, and then he does miss the leg drop because that distraction gives Macho Man time to recover. And then Hulk gets handed this like a foreign object by DiBiase. It looked like a piece of PVC or almost like a piece of chalk.
Might be like a small lead pipe, maybe.
We
I don't know
never found out what it was.
Yeah. And then so Liz takes it back, which causes her to bump into Hogan, which causes Hogan to bump into the ref. So we get another ref bump, and then outside the ring, Ted takes the object back from Liz, and then Nick Patrick comes out wearing his neck brace, and then Macho hits the elbow drop and all this madness, and then
The Macho Madness.
Goes for the pinfall, but Nick Patrick can't count to 3 because his neck hurts too bad. And then Macho Man doesn't like that, so he rips off Patrick's neck brace and then opens his shirt for some reason. He just rips his shirt open and just leaves him like that. So poor Nick Patrick is just de-shirted right
And
here in the middle of
broken-necked.
this arena.
I actually wanted to see Kenny Powers, Nick Patrick just get blasted at
I did
like
too.
at this in this point in the pay-per-view. I just wanted to see someone just powerbomb him off a cage.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was going to happen, but no, instead he just rips his shirt open. And then Savage does get the object back in his hand, hits Hogan with it. Ted pulls the Macho Man out of the ring at this point, so he can't go for the pin. The Giant comes out while both refs are down, and then he takes out Savage with a choke slam outside.
Softly,
and then,
the softest chokeslam onto
Yes.
onto those mats, the cushiony mats, by the way.
And then rolls Savage back in the ring. Hogan gets rolled over onto him. The ref recovers, gets the win. This match was just pure insanity. I can't rate it that high because it was not a good match, but it was just hilarious. It was insane. It was just 90s insanity the whole time. I give it 2.5 because the wrestling was worth a 1, but the everything else, I was thoroughly entertained. I was sports entertained throughout this match.
I was I'm with Zach for the most part. I gave it a 3 for fun and
Oh
enjoyment.
my god!
And a 1.5 for wrestling, so it comes to a 2.25 overall.
Oh, okay.
You didn't let me finish.
Sorry, I didn't know you were just gonna break it down.
Yeah, that's what we do here. It was awesome. I had so much fun watching this with you, Zach. Not really
did too,
Luke, because
man.
Luke was being a Debbie Downer the
He
whole
was.
time.
Luke, what did you think of the match? Let's let the man have his own thoughts.
So I originally had it as a 1.5 stars, but
it was fun.
But
Luke.
yeah, no. Once I took the whole big picture in, it's 2 stars for me. But here's the thing, man: is when we announced this pay-per-view last week, and you read off the card, I heard some of the big names, and I was like, "Oh, okay, sweet, awesome." And then when I heard the main, because I've never seen this pay-per-view before, when I heard the main event of Hogan versus Savage, I thought it was going to be like WrestleMania 5. I thought so. I went into it with the preconceived notion that I was going to see.
It was going to be a big spectacle.
Yeah, I was like,
match.
"Oh hell yeah, dude! I haven't seen them wrestle in a long time." So I thought it was going to be an actual good wrestling match, but. You know, I forgot how goofy heel Hogan was too.
It was super goofy.
He set the tone from the beginning, but it was hilarious. It's just by the end, I was just like, "What the hell is going on?"
I guess we should get into the post match. Then,
Yo, we
because
got to get to the post match.
What happened next was simultaneously one of the worst but most entertaining things I think I've ever seen in a wrestling show. So
It was bullshit.
post match, Hogan grabs the mic and he's talking about how he's the best thing in Hollywood. He's taking
Hold
over
on,
everything.
Hold
the
on.
bee's knees.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You're completely missing the part where the Giant comes back out with a punch bowl of ice water.
And he kind of like trips and
And
spills
he
half
spills
of it.
all of the ice.
So the Giant goes to get this giant bowl, like this aluminum bowl full of ice water. He brings it into the ring after spilling about half of it, and then just dumps it on Hogan to wake him up because Hogan's still unconscious from the elbow or the pipe, and so he dumps that onto Hogan, who wakes up. Then he cuts
Yeah,
this
so you're
promo.
just like, whoa, and then he realizes he won, gets his hand raised by Nick Patrick, and then was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I told you
So-
guys that was the best."
It's like nobody in Hollywood can stop him. And then
Bagpipes.
bagpipes. The crowd does not care at this point.
I think they're confused.
Once I heard the bagpipes, I was like, all right, it's gonna be Piper. And I was excited for it. The crowd really didn't. Even when they saw Piper, they were like, "Oh, yay!"
Who looked really good, by
So
the way.
Piper
He
comes
looked
out,
great.
and I just have to describe this for you. He's wearing one of his classic shirts. He's got a white button-down shirt, and then he's got a blue button-down shirt, and then he's got his leather jacket. Of course, he has the kilt. He comes out
Like 3 collars total.
Yeah, he comes up to the ring, and maybe my favorite part of this promo, he pulled the microphone out of his jacket. Like, he just had it ready to go. And then I don't know what they talked about, but they talked for a very long time.
And he kept what was he kept calling?
He called Giant
He kept
Sprout.
calling the giant Sprout.
Sprout. Oh yes, it was so funny. He'd be like simmer down, Sprout.
So Piper is out of control. Like, he's just going crazy.
He's
belligerent.
He's gone past Ric Flair level.
Yeah.
He's now past Macho Man level.
He's bringing up WrestleMania. And
Yeah,
he's bringing up the first WrestleMania, how he took out Mr. T.
bringing up when he was 15 and he was a Gold Glover and he grew up fighting.
And
Like,
then,
were you there, Hogan?
Hogan's just like, at first Hogan's like, all right, buddy, let's be nice to each other. And then Piper just keeps running him down, and then they shake hands, and you think that's the end.
and then what does Hogan say?
And then as Piper's leaving, he goes, "Hey brother, when you go to the bathroom, you're gonna have to squat down." And that just makes Piper real mad because he's wearing the kilt.
And then so Piper starts running him down again, and it goes off the air
It
in
literally-
mid sentence.
Yeah, Tony Schiavone's just like,
Good night, everyone.
good night, everybody.
And it goes off the air, and that's the end of the show. I was howling at this point. This was hilarious.
Me and Zach were just having a fit.
Make no mistake, it was awful, but it was hilarious.
It was so bad, it was
terrible.
good.
It was so funny. Like, I don't know what the point of this was. Like, obviously the point was to establish Piper and Hogan as a feud, but just like Piper was like talking like a crazy war veteran here. He was just
It was so awesome.
it was amazing. If I was grading that, I would have given it 4 stars.
Dude, I'm up there with you, dude.
It
It
was
was so funny.
hilarious.
And when he
No.
kept calling the giant Sprout, it was like me seeing the Macho Man truck all over again because it was so good.
So that was how we went off the air mid sentence. For all I knew, they argued all night. That argument could have run on
I'm
for
sure they're
hours.
still arguing right now.
Some legend has it they're still arguing to this day. Overall, man, I didn't really know what to expect with this show. I had a lot of fun. There were some stinkers in the middle of the card.
Oh yeah.
But I had a blast.
the end.
I had a blast with this show.
Stop.
Overall, I give it a C because there were some fun matches and just the goofiness elevated this show to me.
So I'm going down my little report card here. C.
Oh, boy.
We got Meltzer over here. This isn't going to be
Oh,
good.
boy.
We got the grump that doesn't like having fun.
Yeah, Luke. What
Shut
Hey,
up.
Mr. Fun Hater, what do you give this show? Hey, usually you guys.
I'm giving that a C minus. Dog.
Okay, that's fine.
That's fine, that's fair.
Usually you guys are calling me the fun hater,
I don't
so it's
know,
fun to be able to put it onto you.
This
for a
match
moment.
was. Or this
I'm not gonna
card
give
was
it.
fun.
I'm not gonna give it a D plus, even though I'm sort of considering it. But C minus, man.
Okay, that's fine.
I feel like so.
I was
okay.
almost at a C minus.
Actually, I'm almost gonna move it up to an A minus.
Jeez. Okay. No. I feel like it should be noted. I feel like it should be noted that you do Hogan's your favorite wrestler of all time.
Right.
So I feel like that final match, especially, and that final bullshit, whatever the hell garbage promo that was, 2 legends who can cut promos just had the most belligerently drunk fucking
It was hilarious.
garbage. No,
Dude,
dude,
it
it
was
was
so
about
fun.
nothing.
Yes, it was.
And Piper was saying he was #1 in Hollywood with him, and that's just a bullshit.
That
claim
is
too,
bullshit
but,
because Piper was ahead of Hogan in
Have you
Hollywood.
seen They Live?
Yeah,
Come on,
have you
man.
seen They Live? That's a
Fantastic.
good movie, dude. Nuts right there, yeah.
God.
All right.
You guys are ridiculous, and this
So-
show was ridiculous.
So Luke is being grumpy, and I'm going to tell you what we're coming to with you next.
Next
Guys.
week is going to be interesting, guys, because Big Daddy Zach, the dad of the podcast, is gone.
So we're going to have a third man.
Kids are running the asylum.
The kids are running the asylum next week, guys.
And we have a third man, a mystery third man that
Yep.
we'll meet.
And of
next
course, next weekend show is going to be WWE Evolution, and then after that, we get headlong into Survivor Series month. We're
Survivor
very
Series
excited.
1990.
You guys didn't tell me we were going to do that in unison. That was
Oh,
really
yeah, sorry,
good.
let's try again. 1, 2, 3.
Survivor Series month. That was sick.
And we got
clipped.
Survivor Series 1990.
Yep.
Survivor Series 1997, which is
Yep.
Brett screwed Brett, Dakota. And then Survivor Series 2018.
Yep.
And Survivor Series 2003,
Yep.
which has a theme song by Limp Bizkit.
Excellent. The WWE's favorite band in the world.
But first we have a. I'm just going to try not to clip the mic here. Evolution is a mystery.
Thanks, Lemmy. So it's going to be really exciting to hear how my little boys have sprouted wings and they're going to fly away to evolution. I'll probably never be back.
So in other words, we're going to be lucky if we get a damn recording on.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll probably never be invited back, or I'll just be invited back as a producer-only role while the third chair fills in permanently.
Yeah, that's a good chance.
But either way, Evolution will be coming to you guys next week on Monday. I'll be the one kind of posting it, so it might be later in the day, hopefully earlier in the day. I'll be out and about in the great state of Arizona, so it will get posted on Monday. So keep your eyes peeled.
And I'd like to apologize in advance because I'm going to be covering the play-by-play. Kyle hopefully will help me a little bit, but
I will.
So you'll be running the play-by-play and the soundboard, right?
Oh God.
All right, guys.
Got a lot on my shoulders.
We love you guys.
Love you,
and
Hulkamaniacs.
Have a good week.